There is a misconception that you're able to draw in court, and you can't, because that would still be contempt of court. I'm just going to show you some of my originals and how the style changed over the years and some of the stories behind them. Mrs. Thatcher, it's Jerry Halliwell, it's Rose West. I think I had about 20 minutes to do that. My name is Siân Frances. Part of my job as an illustrator, I used to do courtroom drawings. Probably over a period of 20 years, I covered a lot of high-profile cases and very historic moments. Court drawings give an idea to the public of what the court is about. It's reportage, so it gets across who and where this is happening to. Court drawings need to prioritise that person who's the witness, the judge that day, or the barrister who's questioning that witness, obviously the person in the dock. We have courtroom drawings because in 1925 a journalist managed to sneak in a camera under his hat, and that then banned cameras in the court. And the way around that was to have artists do them from memory and it'd be called an artist's impression. I did a lot of illustration for newspapers, and that came part of it, and then the TV news as well. Most people will never go to court unless they're a juror. And so you need to get across the atmosphere, which brings it all down to the serious business that it is, but also gives that colour to the story. And it can inform that this is somebody on trial in this atmosphere, and it is about what's going to happen to them. There is a misconception that you're able to draw in court, and you can't, because that would still be contempt of court. If you have a big trial, it's obviously very important to get a seat, and there's a lot of competition for that. If you've experienced, you've got an idea of what the court is like. So you know the layout, you know where prosecution and defence always sit in the same place. So you'd go into court, start of court is usually 10 o'clock, something like that, and have a good look at all the characters. I'd go out, start a drawing from scratch or have something drawn out, and then start putting in from the pencil to the pen to the wash. If someone looked a little bit like someone I knew, then I might make that note. And I tended to go from the top down, what the brow looked like, what the eyes looked like, nose, mouth. You know, if you've got 4 people in a dock, you're going to get 2 maybe quite good. Just going to show you some of my originals and how the style changed over the years and some of the stories behind them and the courts they were in. I think that's the first I did for a court drawing for a newspaper. And there's Arthur Scargill and Mike Mansfield, who's a very well-known barrister. And that newspapers were in black and white then. So this is a more detailed drawing of the court, which I would have had more time on. Specifically, the brief was to show what the layout was. So where you have the judge, this is a witness, and the 2 barristers, prosecution and defence. The jury also, though you're not allowed to draw them in detail. I just had more time to do that, and it's quite satisfying to be able to show a layout, show more information of how that works. It's a very famous court at the High Court. This is slightly different because this is the Scott Enquiry. As long as the judge agreed, you could draw in an inquiry. Obviously, very famous lady here, Mrs. Thatcher, Lady T. Again, it's cheating, you have to cheat. She would have been sitting further away, but you need to get the main protagonist in. Obviously, she was the main person that day as a witness. I think most people would know who this was. It's Rose West, the West trial. And I was still using watercolour paper at this point. So this is Huntley and Carr, which was probably one of the last big trials I did, again from the judge's point of view, and you've got the dock. Again, you squeeze it in to make everybody fit. This is part of the same trial when the jury, along with the judge, the judge and the barristers, went on a trip to the sites that were involved in the trial. I think I had about 20 minutes to do that. And this gives an idea of something I might have drawn out and didn't get used. Something else happened, but just a slightly different perspective. This is Jerry Halliwell. When you got a famous person in court, might be a court out somewhere in the sticks and someone outside of London, and suddenly all the press would turn up. This is the Hamiltons. I had more time to do this one, I know, and that was quite enjoyable. Some time before, I'd spent a week drawing my own hands in the mirror because I felt I wasn't doing them very well. And within weeks, somebody, when it was filmed, a drawing was filmed outside, some member of the public said, "Oh, you're the one that draws all the hands, so you can't win, really." This is Kenneth Noy at the High Court. I think that might have been verdict day. But it is true that you get an atmosphere when it's a big verdict. And, you know, you've got this oak-panelled court, you've got a lot happening. This is Geoffrey Archer and Siân Frances at the Old Bailey, and funny enough, he appeared at the High Court many years before, which shows a very different style. That's how it developed over the years. These are one of my notebooks. We once got asked for our notebooks to be taken to the judge on one particular trial to make sure we weren't drawing in court, so I think I can safely say I didn't. Certain things might mean something to me. They don't now, but they did at the time, just as a very shorthand really for what somebody looked like and what side their parting was, how big their forehead was. I think there is something unique about court drawing that people recognise. Oh, those drawings. Obviously invites loads of criticism as well. My rule was don't compete with the photograph, don't compete with the moving image. You're doing something different. You've still got to add to that information so you can add something they can't do. The position of court drawings now is quite different. It needs to advance with the way news gathering has advanced. So we've got so much new technology and it's much faster. You could use a tablet to do a drawing on, and that, I think there's still a place for it. We don't have cameras in every court and capturing every witness, every part of the procedure. So that could still inform, and that's what it needs to be, part of that information.